Thank you very much for being available today. My name is Josh McLennan, and we're conducting this interview on behalf of IP Inclusive, in particular the Summer of IP. And I'm really, really pleased to introduce Feynman Liang of Innotrack, a Chinese patent and trademark firm, but Feynman himself is based in Barcelona. Feynman, I was wondering if you could just go a little bit above and beyond and give a little bit of an introduction for our watchers today.
Okay, so thank you very much, Josh, for your kind introduction. So I work in the firm of Innotrack. So Innotrack is a boutique IP firm, highly focused on patent, trademark, copyright. We also have another entity, Innotrack Law. So Innotrack Law is a general practice firm handling IP litigation as well as broader broader legal matters such as corporate law, contract law, etc. The firm itself was founded in 2013 by four founding partners, and we now grow into a medium-sized firm in China with approximately 180 staff members and 9 offices in China. Our headquarters is in Beijing, and we also have offices in several of China's most innovative cities. And on IP side, we have a very strong patent team with around 100 professionals covering all technical fields, as well as trademark team of 15 professionals. On the legal side, we currently have 6 lawyers focusing on IP litigation, transaction matters, and other general legal matters. And as for me, I'm a patent attorney, and my background is electrical engineering and automation. On daily basis, I work closely with our domestic clients on their international cases in different jurisdictions. And on the other hand, I also cooperate with our international clients and foreign associate on their cases in China. So together with my colleagues in different specialized field, we counsel our international client on filing and protection strategy for in different area.
Yeah, that's super, super interesting. What one interesting aspect actually is the size of the firms in China. You know, you said you're a medium-sized firm. 180 people is, as you know, in Europe, that's a pretty big company. What size are the largest firms in China? Are they kind of multiple thousands or?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, maybe 1,000, 2,000 staff is quite common for big
yeah.
firms. Yeah.
Wow, wow, wow. And then you mentioned that in the track you deal with kind of all sorts of technical fields and industries, kind of across the board. But which technical fields does Innotrack kind of specialize in? Does it have any kind of particular uh, focus or particular types of experience based on uh, the types of industries in China?
Yeah, as I mentioned, we cover all technical fields, but we have a very strong practice in telecommunication, artificial intelligence, semiconductor control system, automotive technology, battery technology, medical device, and also biotech and chemistry as well.
Yes, yes. And then the types of clients you represent, they tend to be kind of smaller, for example, kind of individual inventors, or is it also kind of, yeah, huge organizations? I imagine it's a spectrum, but where does Innotrack kind of its typical client, what do they look like?
So for our firm, we are heavily based on our domestic clients, and approximately 80% of the cases we are handling comes from the very large domestic clients in high-tech consumer electronics, home appliances, electric car, medical device, and oil and petroleum industries.
So yeah, I feel like we've got a kind of good overview of Innotrack and uh, a broad introduction to the Chinese kind of uh, IP prosecution market. But I think now let's pivot towards kind of the patent profession specifically, and also kind of trademarks too. But one thing for when you're hiring trainees initially, how competitive is the trainee market? Is there lots of trainees available or potential trainees available, and firms are able to kind of pick and choose as they want, or do firms end up competing quite a lot for the same trainees?
So, from our observation, so actually the entry-level trainee patent attorney market in China has become more and more competitive, and especially over the past 3 years. And generally speaking, in recent years, the overall patent market in China has become slowing down, and the total number of patent cases has grown only very modestly. And for our firm, most of our clients are large domestic company in China, as I mentioned, and their inventions usually involve quite sophisticated technology, and they tend to have very high expectation in terms of both turnaround time and quality of work product. So because of this, these matters are generally handled by very experienced attorneys rather than the entry-level trainees. As a result, firms like us, we do not have many opening for trainee patent attorneys. And for firms that mainly handle inbound work and work with international clients, I think the number of inbound patent filing cases has dropped also quite drastically over the past 2 years. At the same time, many firms have started using AI to take care of the routine task. So this means firms now rely more on experienced attorney to handle more complex matter. In practice, this has further reduced opportunity for entry-level trainees. And as for smaller firms in China, especially those serving SMEs with less technically complicated inventions, uh, they may still rely more on junior attorneys. And on the other hand, there is a large number of fresh university graduates every year. So, for example, there are over 12 million fresh graduates in 2025 alone. And the
Wow.
number of graduate with engineering or science background student, it's around 5 million. So while the number of vacancies is decreasing, the number of candidates keep growing. So you can imagine the competition for entry level attorney position. So actually become quite intensive. But another fact I want to point out is that experienced attorney with strong expertise in sophisticated technology are still very much in demand, especially in telecommunication, artificial intelligence, computer science, and semiconductors. And in addition, attorney with deep experience in SEP cases are still in high demand in the market.
I'm guessing, does this mean that Chinese firms are more open to, let's say foreign trained attorneys specializing in these kind of extremely high tech technical areas? Are Chinese firms open to uh, foreign attorneys, for example, without being fluent in Chinese?
So actually, I think some foreign firm they do have requirement or they do have needs to hire foreign attorney in these technical fields. But then I think it's also they also prefer candidate with good Chinese language capability. That would be, one of the requirement they have.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess with that language requirements, how common is it for uh, Chinese attorneys to have trained abroad? Is that a common route kind of into the Chinese profession? For example, studying in China or studying abroad from a Chinese background, begin training in a foreign company, and then move back to China. Is that typical or?
So as far as we know, it is not very common, and the number of the practicing patent attorney in China is like 40,000 now.
Yeah.
And then in generally, we believe there's only small percentage of attorney have overseas training background or foreign qualification.
Yeah. Yeah. Does that foreign qualification include university degrees as well
Yeah,
as kind of the more formal?
yeah.
Okay. This is really interesting. So I'm thinking of let's say I'm a student in the UK at the moment, and I'm interested in working in China.
Yeah.
One thing to work on, I'm guessing, would be kind of becoming fluent
Yeah.
in the Chinese
Yeah.
language.
Yeah.
Um, I imagine that's quite difficult to do. It requires a lot of dedication and determination.
Yeah, yeah. I think first of all, because as you know, Chinese language is still the primary working language in China. So, on the one hand, many people actually they can communicate in English in written form easily, but then most people will feel more comfortable speaking Chinese in their daily work and business communication. So therefore, um, according to our experience, if the foreign candidate they would like to work in China and develop have their career development better in China, the Chinese language capability is very important, and it would help them to communicate more effectively with colleagues and client and gain a better understanding of the Chinese culture.
It's very interesting because, as you know, we've spoken before. I worked in Norway, and before the Norwegian Patent Office, you can prosecute patent applications in English. So this kind of language requirement, it's not something that I've had kind of direct experience of when working abroad as a patent attorney. Uh, but it really does sound like the language is extremely important within Chinese firms, both for the actual work, and I'm also guessing for talking to the inventors and other sorts of communications with clients, as well as with colleagues.
Yeah, yeah. And on the other hand, I believe that it's also quite important to build expertise in the area that are in strong demand in China. So, for example, artificial intelligence, semiconductor, telecommunication, and also cross-border IP matters. And experience with EU, UK, or US practice can also be very beneficial and valuable for firms handling international works as well.
I've got a lot of useful information from this interview so far. The impression I'm getting is that it would be very difficult for a UK based trainee to or a UK based student to move directly into a Chinese firm. I was wondering. We haven't spoken about this before, but I was wondering if you could give me some insight into foreign companies working within China. Um, are they a big kind of part of the domestic Chinese IP prosecution kind of market, or does it tend to be kind of homegrown Chinese firms tend to be the most important players within China?
So you mean the foreign company operating in China, is it a big portion of the applicant in the Chinese IP market?
I was thinking more of the law firms operating in
Okay.
China.
Okay. You mean the
Um,
foreign law firm, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there are different trends in different period of time. About 15 years ago, actually, there are quite a number of international firm, foreign firm. They start their practice or they set up their offices in China, and the number of foreign firm actually decreased
Okay.
for the past 5 years. And many big firms like the U.S. firm, they just removed their office in China a few years ago, at least 2, 3 years ago. And then we for the past 1 or 2 years, we're seeing that some firms they actually they started their new offices here in China again because they're seeing that actually the trend in China is that more and more Chinese company they not only have their business within China, but also they would like to explore their business in overseas market, and they really need those foreign firms in other jurisdiction to help them to solve their IP or other
Okay.
legal matters in different other countries. So having an office in China can give benefit to the foreign firms to have connection with this client and better provide better service to the client in China.
Yes, yes, yes. So, from what you're saying, I'm understanding that it's the kind of foreign liaison offices
Yeah,
established in China, which tend to be the most effective
yeah, yeah.
for foreign companies. Um, okay, so before we wrap up, I was wondering if you could um, kind of give me some insight into you know the Chinese kind of trainee attorneys that Chinese companies tend or Chinese law firms tend to hire. Do they come directly? Is it more common for them to come directly from university, or will they typically have more experience within industry before then joining the Chinese patent profession?
You mean the Chinese candidate or the foreign candidate?
Both, but I'm guessing mostly Chinese.
So, as I mentioned, actually, nowadays um, the competition for the junior or the entry level Chinese attorney, they're actually quite intense. I mean, the competition it's intense, and the opening for the junior attorney actually every year is there are not many vacancy in the market. So now the Chinese law firm they tend to hire experienced attorney or people who have previous experience working in the industry or as in-house. So that would be their preference.
Yes, yes, yes. That's yeah, been super helpful. I really appreciate your time. I think this has been a really useful conversation for students and trainee and also qualified attorneys within Europe and particularly within the UK, which is of course on whose behalf I'm conducting this interview. Um, one one final question would be um, how are you aware of any um, Chinese companies which have sponsored visas for attorneys from abroad? Is that common or um,
So actually, according to our experience, actually, we previously to provide sponsorship for a U.S. um, law school graduate to work in our firm for a certain period of time. And our attorney, they would take turns to provide educational session for this candidate on the China IP law. And for us, we would be certainly open to discussing opportunity with UK-based candidates who are interested in working at our law firm, and we would especially welcome candidate with experience in UK um, and or EU practice, and such expertise I think could help us better support our client in developing more complete and effective international patent strategy.
yeah, that's super helpful. We'll make sure to include your contact details with this interview. So you may receive a few curious students and attorneys in future.
Yeah.
But the opportunity to work at Innotrack and to work in China more generally does sound very interesting from a kind of UK perspective, particularly given the level of high high tech development occurring in
Thank
China
you.
at the moment.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Cool. So I think we'll wrap up the interview there. Yeah, again, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I hope it would be helpful for more candidate or UK-based students to understand more about the IP market in China.
Yes. Yeah, and it certainly has been. So yeah, thank you for that.